Okay, good afternoon, madam. I'm Mkaku Dennis, year 1, semester 1. So I'm going to go through coursework, and the question is about the coursework about reading through chapter 5 and 6 of the web site notes, and make a presentation on those chapters, then make a video and record on how you go through those chapters. So chapter 5 is about the intermediate HTMLs, the CSS, links, images and tables. Then chapter 6 is about the advanced HTML. Then you have lists, forms, blocks and frames. So here we go. So this is my folder where I saved my work. Remember, everything must be in the same folder. The image, the pages must be in the same folder. Now when I open my page, this is page 1, this is chapter 5 and 6, but it is not necessary. Then page 2, and I have page 2 and page 3. Then when I open page 2, then I open with TextPad. Now this is my, because using any text editor, so one must use, can decide to use any other text editor. For example, the Visual Code, Sublime Text. For me, I've decided to use TextPad. So when I open, remember our chapter 5 is about intermediate HTMLs. We have the CSS, links, images and tables. So whereby CSS means the cascading style sheets, and style sheets, this describes how HTML elements are to be displayed on the screen or a paper or any other media. And this serves, in this it is described in 3 ways. We have the inline CSS, we have the internal and the external CSS. Then the inline CSS, it is applied in a unique style. A unique style uses style attribute. We use the style attribute of the HTML element. An example, we have for example here, we have the style, we have the body background, which is powder blue. We have the heading 1, the color I've decided to use blue. The paragraph 1, I have decided to use green. Then paragraph 3, decided to use red, and even paragraph 4. So that is inline. So when I run when I open my website here, you want to see, when I open it here, this is the background, blue. The heading 1, I've decided to use here heading blue. Then paragraph 2, I've decided to use green, and paragraph 3, remember, I've decided to use red. So that is, and it is then you open the style tag, then you close it. This is, you have the end tag. Then we have the external, we have the internal CSS, then we have also the external. The external is about the doc type. Remember, I've decided to use 2 pages. When I open my page here, when I open page 3, this is my page 3, but I want to open it in TextPad. So when I open it here, open with TextPad, so I'm going to show you the external, because we have the inline, the internal CSS, and the external. Then external, we have the doc type, which is so I close here. We have the doc type, the HTML read. Remember, I open a tag and then I close the tag. We have the link, which is the style sheet. The relief style sheet is equal to CSS, then the heading. So when I open it here, this is my page 3. Nothing displayed there. Remember, this one is different, the inline having the different style attributes. This one is differ from this one. This one is differ from this one. So that is the CSS. So we have the ID attribute. ID attribute define a specific style for one special element. Add an ID attribute to the element to appear different. So ID, we use the ID attribute. ID attribute, for example, here when you this is for example, ID attribute, you have style that hash p01, then you open a bracket, close the bracket, color blue, then style, then I close it, then I close. Style ID I've said p01, then I close the tag. I'm different, so I want to show you the ID attribute. Then I'm different. Then when I open here, I'm different. So this is page 2, page 3. This is I'm different. I'm different. Color, I've decided to use blue. I'm different. Blue. I'm different. So I'm different. I've decided to use color. This color is blue. It is in blue color. Then I'm different. So when I open it here, we see I'm different. It is in blue color. So we have, that is an ID attribute. Then you also have the class attribute. The class, this defines a style for a special type of element. We use the class attribute as we seeing here. As you seeing here, we have the class. Makaku Dennis is different too. So this is differ from the other one. The other ID attribute, this is class attribute. Then the color, this is red. It is in green color. It is in green color here. Then when I open it here, it is Makaku Dennis is different too. When we have the HTML links, HTML links, these are hyperlinks. You can click on a link and jump to another document. Click on a link and jump to another document. Then you have the HTML links. You have the syntax links. These are links defined with the HTML. A tag. We use a tag. Open angle tag, a close angle tag. That is a tag. Example. For example, here, then we have our tags here. The relief, a relief, we use the relief attribute. The relief attribute. This specifies the destination address. For instance, the HTTPs, for example, the http.www.this.com.html. So of the link, this links is a visible part. We click on a link and takes you to another document. For example, here where I've decided to, because remember we use the relief attribute. Relief attributes is equal to open quote, see that http://www.techtarget.com/html. So visit our HTML. So when I click on that link, it takes me directly to another page on that particular document. So here we go. When I come back here, then I click. Remember here I've decided to use TextTarget. So when I come here and I click visit our, remember here I've said visit our HTML, the text target. So when I come back here and I click here and I click here, it takes me directly to that. This is our page. So why text target? Solutions, product, whatever, activities, matters, fuel, find. So then you read more about this site. Read more about this site. So when I go back, then when I go back here, our site, so those are links. So we have another, those are syntax links. We have also local links. We have local links that we use the ref attribute .html.image.css. These are local links. Local links I used for example, I used as an absolute the uniform resource locator. Uniform resource locator, when you click on that particular link, it links you to the same website. For example, links you to the same website. So when I click here, for instance here, I've decided to use the http://w3.org. It takes you to w3. That particular website. This is a link to a website on a World Wide Web. So when I come here and I click on this is a local link. Visit our HTML tutorial. Then when I click here, sorry, let me first go back. So it takes you back here, but let me first go back here. Our local link. Our local link takes you back to the same website. So this is visit our HTML tutorial. When I click here, it takes me there. Then we have the image attribute, image as a link. So this is the image. We use the CLC attributes. Then my image is then .jpg. Then we have decided to use 200. Then height, these are pixels. Then height, this is 100 pixels out. Instead, what if the image is not yet displayed well? Then this word comes, it is displayed. Read about chapter 5 and 6 and make a presentation. Then I'm going to talk about the tables. But before I talk about the tables, I want to run about this and see this is my image. So when I change here, let's say I move J, then I save. Remember, I have to save. Then after saving, then I refresh here, then the image disappear. Then the word, this particular word is displayed. Read about chapter 5 and 6 and make a presentation. So when I come back here and I bring back my the your name, then I save, the image comes back, displayed back. So that is, so I'm going to also talk about the tables, the tables in HTML. Then defining the HTML tables. A table is defined as the tag. We have the table tag, anchor tag, table, then close the tag. That is the table tag. Each table row is defined with TR tag. A table header is defined with TH tag. By default, it is TH tag by default. It means it goes there automatically. Then by default, then table headings are bold and centered. Table headings are bold and centered by default. Then we have a cell is defined as the TD tag, anchor tag, as you seeing here. We have remember we use the table tag. IT students, this is my subheading IT students offering web IT students 2023-2024 year 1 semester 1. Remember, we use the table style width. Table style means width. I've decided to use width 100, so I can 100%, then I close the tag. I can decide to use length, as you're going to see. Then the TR defines the row, the table rows. TR, then TH defines the heading, and the heading is centered by default. For instance, you have first name, then last name. We have the ID number, first name and last name. Those defines the TH. Those are headings. We use the TH tag. Then the TR tag defines a row. Then TD defines the cell, the cell tag. So you open a tag, you open a tag, you close a tag. For instance, here we have decided to use the TH. This is row. TH H. Then I close. Then I close. Then first name. So when I run, then these are following students. Remember our subtitle says IT students 2023-2024 year 1 semester 1. So we have Mukaku Dennis, Kintu Kenneth, Namaya Fiona, we have the Navio. So these names, Navio Pro. So when I run, let me open. When I open here, this is our table. The IT students 2023-2024 year 1 semester. That is the title. Then numbers, the ID number, or the number. We have number 1, number 2, number 3. Number 1 is Mukaku Dennis. Remember, we have decided borrowed and centered by default. You see, they are borrowed and centered. We have Mukaku Dennis, and first name and second name is Dennis. Then last name, the first name Dennis Mukaku, last name is Dennis. So centered by default. When I come back here and I change, for instance, when I write here and I change the width and right there with the length, then I save. It is going to change the format. When I come here and I refresh, now the format has changed. You see, first name, whatever, and so let's see, proceed, and you see other. Then we have the adding border spacings, adding border spacing. This is HTML cell spacing, the cell spacing attribute. We use the cell spacing attribute, the cell attribute. This is our table. So when I come back here, table 2, we're going to see cells that span many columns. We're going to look at the cells that span many columns, having many columns and spacing at partition. So we also use the TR tag. TR tag defines the row. Then the TH tag defines the heading, and TD tag defines the cell. So this is name Mukaku Dennis, registration number, and then the ID number, registration number. We have the ID number and registration number. Then I close, open a tag, you close the tag, TTR, whatever. So when I come back here and I refresh, this is what happens. Then the spacing, you can also decide to use the spacing here. Then the spacing here, it is 5 inch. For someone can say to use the border 5 inch. Then the cell span is 20. Cell spacing 20. Cell spacing 20. You can increase and say, for example, you say like 40. Then I save. Come back here and I refresh. You see, then it has changed. So that is the cell spacing attribute. Then you also have the special style for one table. For instance, one table you can use various tables. The TR, we have first name, whatever. So when I run here, when I come here and I run, this is what first name, special style for one table. The first name, Mukaku, then the last name. So you can even change here special styles. You can add more, other students. So that has been chapter 5. The lists, that has been chapter list forms, and no, that has been chapter 5. The CSS, links, image, and tables. So chapter 6, it's about the lists, forms, and the blocks and the frames. So then chapter 6, going to look at chapter 6. But chapter 6, it is about the lists, forms, blocks, and the frames. Lists, blocks, and the frames. We have the example of lists. We have the unordered lists. Unordered list. We have the ordered list, and we have the ordered and the unordered lists. Then ordered lists, and the unordered lists. So let's look at the ordered lists and the unordered lists. The unordered list starts with the ordered list. The ordered list, we have first item, second item, third item, and fourth item. Then unordered list starts with the UL tag. Each list item starts with the LI tag. Then the list item will be marked as a bullet. So as we're going to see, we can also change. As we see a bullet, we can decide to use circles, squares, whatever. So the example of ordered list, we have the example. We have remember UL tag defines the unordered list. Then each tag or each list starts with LI. LI, that is list 1, list 2, list 3, LI. Then you open the tag, you close the tag. LI tag, open, close the tag. Then UL defines order. That's why I start with UL tag, then I cross it here. Then break means break these empty HTML elements. We do not close the tag. Just open it and open the angle tag, close the angle tag. We do not have the closing tags. So that is break, making it differ from a first encoded to another encoded. So then here we go. But if we want to change the breaks, for instance here, I have the style is equal to list style type Sanko. Then list 1 Mukaku Dennis, list 2 Fiona, Kintu Navio. So when I open it here, where is my page 2? Page 2, because I've decided to use 2 pages. Page 3 it is for chapter 5, page 2 it is for chapter 6. That's why you see here advanced HTML, we have list forms and blocks. That is chapter 6 on page 2. So here we go. Students, so far for me I've decided to students doing web design 2023-2024. We have Mukaku Dennis, Fiona. Remember I've used the Sanko. I've used the Sanko. Set the list item mark to Sanko. Then when you open here, the list item mark, I've decided to use Sanko. That's why list style type Sanko. So I can decide to remove or type square. Then square, then I save. When I open it here, then I refresh, then squares are appeared here. These are squares I'm talking about. So those are braids. You change, you can even type none, then I save. Then when I come back here, I refresh. The braids disappeared. So you command it to display none on the list. So when I bring back my Sanko, then save. So that is it. I refresh here, they come back here. So that is it, the unordered list. Then we have the unordered lists, then unordered lists. So let's look at the ordered lists. Ordered lists, ordered lists. We have a student. P4 means P4 it is in color, because here I've decided whatever in P4 must be in red color. P4 we are ordered. I'm looking at the ordered lists. We have Mukaku Dennis, Fiona, Kintu Kenneth, and what? So these are ordered lists. So on ordered lists, the type attribute of the, we use the OL attribute, the tag attribute. That is the tag. On type attribute list, ordered list, we use the OL tag. The type mark by default, the number will be centered, numbered with numbers by default. With letters, Roman numbers, you can decide to use Roman uppercase Roman numbers, the lowercase Roman numbers, the lowercase letters, and uppercase letters. So from I've decided to use numbers. So here, so on unordered, we use the UL tag. Here we use OL tag. Then students who are doing web design as well, as we've seen up there. So we have Mukaku Dennis, Fiona, and Kintu Navio. So type is equal to 1. So I've decided to use numbers on ordered lists. So ranging from number 1, whoever, I can even type 2. So let's first look at this. Type 1, we have students doing web design. So we have Mukaku Dennis 2. By default, numbers are set by default. The item list will be numbered with numbers by default. So even if I start with let me start with 20. With 20. Then you save. Then when I come back here and I refresh, no. So those are number, the ordered lists, starts from number 1 to ordered, number 1, number 2 in order. So that is. Then another type of lists we have the description lists, HTML description lists. The HTML description list supports the many lists about something. So let me say characteristics of students who are doing website design. So we have what you start listing. So here with the description, each of the term starts with the DL tag, which defines the description. The TD tag defines the term name, defines the name, and the DD tag describes each item, as you see here. We have the DL tag defines the description list, Then the TD defines the name. We have that DL tag description list, which is Mukaku. What is about Mukaku? And the TD that TD defines the name Mukaku, and DDD tag describes each item. For example, DD always the best in web designing and programming. Sleeps in Chirumba. Then you open it, DD tag, and then you have to close it. Then another list, we have Fiona. This is it. Fiona, always the best in networking and graphics. Sleeps at campus. So when I run here, when I open it and I see, then you see, this is Mukaku Dennis Bioinfo. I've decided to use the subtitle, which is Bioinfo, about someone. Mukaku, always the best in web designing and programming. Sleeps in Kirumba. Fiona, always the best in networking, sleeps at campus. Those are description lists. Description list, we have the name. Under description list, we decide to use the DT tag, which describes the name and describes each item. So that is description list. So we're going to look at the nesting tags. Nesting tags in normal way, nesting, after someone there is someone inside there. There is someone inside. So nesting tags here, nesting tags, we have that, because I have decided to use the subtitle, which is biodata, about we have the name and age. The nesting list can contain a new list and the other HTML elements, like the images, links. You can even put links, images, whatever. So here, for me, I've decided to use the LI tag, the name and the age. The name and the age. So name here, Mukaku Dennis, age 24. The list between the list within another list, contain a list in a new list. So when we come here on our browser, then you see name Mukaku Dennis, name here, the first name Mukaku Dennis, age Namwaya Fiona, age. You see, so those are nesting lists. So we also have let's look at the control list, counting control lists. They come back here. Control list, counting list. So you see, let me first see. We have the counting numbers. My subtitle is counting numbers of the web designing students. So we have the OL tag. Start. For me, I've decided to use 12. Start with numbers, counting numbers. We have the counting lists. Starts with number 1 to 100. Starts with number 1 to 9. Number 10 to 20. So here, for me, I've decided to use 12. When I come back here, when I open my web browser, we have 12. Since I've decided to start with 12, because here we see start with 12. Start with 12. So when I come back here, starts with 12. Mukaku starts 12, 13, 14, 15. So when I also I can even change to decide to use like 100. Even if you start at 1,000, let me type 80. Then I save. If you save and come back here and you refresh on our web browser, you see 80, 81, 82, 83, 80, and up to. So those are counting lists we have. Now let's look at the HTML forms. HTML forms define the form. The form tag, the form element defines the form, and the form is used to correct the user inputs. A form element, types of forms, we have the types of input elements, like we have the text fields, we have the checkboxes, we have the radio buttons, submit buttons, and more, as you're going to see. The action attribute, we have the action attribute, defines the define the submitted or the submission tag. Then you have the method attribute under forms. For instance, get, post. Those are method attributes. Then we also have we talked about the get and post. Then let's talk about the name attribute. The name attribute, that each input field must have the name, and remember we use the name. Each name attribute must have a name. The name attribute is omitted. The data and input fields will not be sent all. Example, let's look at the example here. We have the form. Remember, use the form attribute. First name, break. First name, here we're going to use the break tag to break, because this is the HTML empty elements break. We're going to use the break tag to break from input text name, first name, to break from first name. Then we also break from the first name to last name. Input text last name, break it from password. Then password, even if we do not break here, even here I can even remove break. Here I can remove break, password on password, registration number, type password, registration number, even if you break, because this is the last thing, so you can stop from there, then you save. So when I come here on my web browser, I have the first name, students form, the first name. This is the name attribute. Name, first name Mukaku, last name Dennis. Registration number, this is my registration number. So let's look at the input type text. Input type text, we have these forms that requires input type text. For instance, here input, for me I've decided subtitle, I've decided to use it to name it the login form. We have the first name, text first name, you have to text first name, then last name. Then I use the break tag to break it from this first name to the last name, even password. So user input type, so whatever it comes here, so these are input text forms. So when I run here, when I open here, we have you can even put first name Mukaku, last name Denisi, the user, the password, you type whatever. It requires you to log in, put some information to access other fields, so or pages. So this is the login form. So let's also look at the look at the input type passwords. Input type passwords. Type passwords defines the password defines the password field. Password field. Input type password. Input type password. Password. The PSW. The PSW define that's the name for password. The characters in the password fields marked as the sankos, by default. By default, whenever you type something like a 1, it is marked as a sanko. That is by default. So those are some of the. We have the input type submit. Input type submit. Input type submit. Submit defines the submitting form. For instance, here input type submit is value is equal to submit. is equal to submit. When you come back here and you click on submit, it takes you to the page that whoever you here, this back here. So when you type something here, you put your names here, whatever the information that is required, and you type submit. It takes you directly to the page that you want to submit to. So here I've used the reset button that will set all the form values to their default. So when I click here, I've typed last name, Mukaku, whatever, and first name. So when I click on reset, everything disappears. Everything disappears by default. So those are type reset input forms. So let me talk about the input type radio button. Input type radio defines the radio buttons. A radio button lets a user to select only one of a limited number of choices. So when I come back here, the option data info subtitle, that option data info. So input type is this radio, a radio button, the radio button. The name is gender, Input, the output is the male, female, and body. So value is equal to male, checkbox male. Then I use the bracket, the breaking tag here to break it from the female tag, the female checkbox. So input type radio button gender, which is the value is equal to female, the female tag, the female checkbox. So whenever someone points on female, it automatically selects female. So remember, a user selects only one choice over a limited number of choices. So when I open my web browser, here we have the option data info, that is the type subtitle, male, the input type name, male, gender. So the value is male, value is female, value is equal to checkbox, value name is equal to whenever someone clicks on female, for me I've decided to use female. Those are checkbox. Baby, someone, others, I don't know whether there is but someone can appoint over others. Baby, I'm a baby. So those are radio buttons. We have the checkboxes. A checkbox lets a user to select 0 or more option of a limited number of choices. So when I come back here, I'm going to look at the checkboxes. A checkbox, input type checkbox, name a vehicle. Vehicle 2, vehicle 1, vehicle 3. So a seeing the checkbox, input type a checkbox, name vehicle 1, value is equal to bike. I have a bike, because remember we're going to check out. Remember, a user select 0 or more options of a limited number of choices. Someone might make no, I do not have. You have a bike? No, I do not have. I do not have a car. I do not. So for me, I've decided to use. I have a bike. Input type checkbox, name vehicle 2 is a car. Value is equal to a car. I have a car. Checkbox, you check whether you have a car. Yes, I have a car. Then you disappear. So input type checkbox, name vehicle 3. Bigere byokka. Someone uses a bigere kutambuza bigere. Then the value is ntambuza bigere. So when I open here, so when I open my web browser, so here I'm looking at the checkboxes. I have a bike. Someone might point over a bike. I have a bike. Then you check. I have a bike. No, someone might, even you can check, I have a car, I have a bike and I have a car. You check. Ntamuzabigere. No, I do not Ntamuzabigere. Someone might say, no, I do not have a car. I check out, I do not have a bike, but Ntamuzabigere. You see, Ntamuzabigere. That is his or her vehicle. Because vehicle 1, vehicle 3, Ntamuzabigere. You check whether you use a bigere. So those are those are check boxes and review buttons. So we also have input type buttons. Input type buttons finds a pattern. For example, when I input here, input type buttons. Input type buttons, we have input type button. A button is where you click. On click is equal to alt. Course work about the reading chapter 5 and chapter 6 and make a radio on how you go through this presentation. Value is equal to click for the question. So when I come here, value is equal to click for question. This is the button. When I point or click here, this page says the coursework about reading chapter 5 and 6 and make a video on how you go through those chapters. So this is the checkout. This page says the coursework and whatever. So those are input type buttons. So we also have the input type email. We have the input type email. Use the input field. This field is used for input fields that should contain an email address. Depending on the browser support, the email address can be automatically validated when submitted. Some smartphones recognize the email type .com, .what, so whatever. So let's look at the email input. So email input here. Input type button, click on alt. So submission is the input. This is the email form. We have the form email input type Dennis Mkaku at gmail.com. Name email, then you close the form. So when I save, continue evaluation. So when I save and I come back and I refresh here, this is the email. So wherever someone points over here, this is the email. The email. So we also have another form, which is the grouping form data with the field, the field set tag, element tag. So the element is used, the field set is the element that is used to group the related data in a form. So the legend tag, the element tag defines the caption for the field set element. So here, let's look at the codes and we see. Look at the codes. You are seeing that the grouping offering the option by personal info. Input the first name we break. Remember the legend tag, element tag defines the caption of a field set, the field set element, and the field set element is used to group related data in a form. To group related data in a form, field set elements. We open a field set tag, then we also close it. We close it because we want to group them. Used to group related data in a form. Related data, whoever is typed here must be grouped in this form. So input type, text name, first name, Mkaku Dennis, last name, and whatever, registration number. So when I browse it here, come back here. So personal information, the first name, whoever, they are grouped together in a form. Last name, they are grouped in a form, unlike these ones are not grouped. So here we use the field set elements. So let's look at that. The select elements. Select elements here. The select elements, the select tag element tag defines the drop list, the drop down list. For example, the drop down list. For example, I have Mukaku, whatever. Let me say number of students offering a website. That drop down list. Defines, for instance, I have Mukaku, whatever. Someone can use like a house. I have bungalow, flat house, a hut, whatever. So the list you select then from down listing. So elements defines the option that can be selected. By default, the first item in the drop down list is selected to define the pre-selected options and add the selected attribute to the other option. So here, when I come back here, then my subtitle is selected students offering web design by the drop down list. That is my subtitle. So this is select name student, optional value Mukaku Dennis, optional value Fiona, optional value Navio Kenneth. Then I close the option. Why do you use the option? A optional element tag defines an option that can be selected by default. So that's why we use the option. Optional value is equal to Fiona. Option, because we want to option. It is option. I want to opt to use it. Someone can decide to use to click on Fiona. I'm looking for Fiona. Let me say number of students C, and you decided to look one number of students who are offering web design for me. I need to talk to Mukaku. So you select Mukaku, you select Fiona, you select Navio, and whatever. So those are drop the select elements. So when I open it here, so here we go. When I open it here, remember we use the drop down list. You select Mukaku, Fiona. Someone can decide to let me select Navio. If you select Navio, see Navio is displayed there. So that is. So let's look at the. We have the multiple selection, because someone can use multiple selections. For instance, to use a multiple attribute, we use a multiple attribute to allow us, or to allow the user to select more than one value. To select more than one value. So that is multiple. Multiple, we select the name here. For let me open here. Multiple, select a name, student size. Here I use the break in order to break from the other selection to this multiple selection. Student is equal to size 2. When you select 2, someone can select 4 inch, the multiple. Then optional value Mukaku Dennis, optional Kinest 1. So when I run here, when I open in my web, so you see here, this is what it means by multiple selection. You click up, you select whatever whom you want. Multiple selection. Let me say you have a big number of students and you want to select like 5. So that is. Then you have the extra area element, the extra area element. The extra area elements, the text area defines multi-line input fields. For example, let me open my text pad here. We have the extra for subtitle is text area for the MA query. Here, text area name, text area name, this is message, the message you want to be displayed. The row is equal to 10. The cross, it is 30. The coursework about reading chapter 5 and 6 and make a video. Now you go through text area where you type where. So when I come back here, this is the coursework, the text area, the text area. So we also we can use the rows and cells here. Rows, sorry, here rows 10, the row 10, cells have 30. So we also have we can change the width here. So we have the extra area net, the extra area, message name, message type, width. We have 200 and height, width 200 and height 300. The coursework, this is about what it is displayed there. Even you can also add on the coursework about reading through chapter 5 and 6 of the website notes and make a presentation on those chapters. So those are extra elements. So I'm going to end with the button elements. Defines the click button. The click button alerts wherever you point here, wherever you point on that click button, it displays the message alert. Button click alert, the coursework about reading chapter 5 and 6 and make a video on how we go through. Say then click here, close button. You close because it must be having the closing tag. So when I close, when I browse it here, when I click it here, so you see what is displayed. Then let me refresh it back. Then when I click here, this is what it is. The coursework about the reading chapter, these are button elements. Okay, where I display this, it's the alert is displayed in this way. So let me end with this the relief attribute. The relief attribute. The relief attribute links you from one page to another. The relief is equal to page 3 because I'm on page 2. I want to go on page 3. Page 3.html. Next. Next. When you click on next, it takes you directly to the next page. Then I close. We use the a tag on the relief attributes. We use the a tag. Then open a tag, then I close a tag. Then after then this, when I browse it here, okay, sorry, you say okay, when I click, it takes me to my next page, which is page 3. And when I'm here, then I click on when I click on next, it takes me to this page. So this that has been my presentation on how seeing chapter 5 and chapter 6. So good afternoon once again, madam. Thanks.